date 611-2288-44.33333333. Welcome to Star Trek Discovery Podcast, a sometimes smart, a sometimes funny podcast covering new and classic Star Trek. I'm your Enterprisian Captain, Mariah Gossett. With me on the view screen tonight, we have
Clyde Haynes.
What's up, Clyde?
Nope, no
How
puns.
are you tonight?
That's it.
No puns.
I'm
It's all
doing all
good.
right. I'm doing all
good.
right. Feeling good.
Yeah. I'll let everyone know I might be a little on the loopy side. I'm running on like 3 hours of sleep. It's gonna be a good time. Get ready, buckle in. It's gonna be a fun ride on the Protostar. Tonight we are reviewing and chatting about episodes 13 and 14 of Star Trek Prodigy. I'm really excited to dig into this. If you enjoy our content, whether we're loopy or not, you can subscribe to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. YouTube, you can join us for the live stream. You can find links to all that and more at StarTrekPod.co. Also, you can join us over on the Patreon. I know Twitter has become kind of a crazy dumpster fire place more than usual. So if you'd like to just hang out with a bunch of really cool Trek fans and have watch-alongs and chat about really great things, you can visit us at patreon.com/Star Trek Pod, where just for $2 an episode, you get to hang out in the Slack channel with us. Good deal to join right now because we're doing about 2 episodes a month for $4. You can come hang out with us. It's cheaper than old Elon Musk's $8 Twitter. So half
And
price.
you get Slack with us.
You get Slack with us. So much better. Clyde, how can people interact with us if they're joining us on the live stream?
Well, if you're watching us live, then you decide, I kind of want to ask a question, make a comment, share my thoughts. Then you just type in capital P, capital O, capital D, capital pod into the chat, and we will take a look at your comment. And in a moment, we'll talk about that special thing where we want to know how you felt about the episode. And if you want to tell us, just type capital H, capital F, capital HF in the chat, and we will take a look at your thoughts.
Indeed. Okay, Clyde, tonight, do you want to, I'm gonna let you pick. Do you want to talk about both collectively or do we want to go one by one?
You know, if you'd asked me that before I did a review of the first episode, I was like, let's do it together. But I think that the first episode was such a unique experience. I don't know how you don't talk about that. I mean, we are Starflight, so
Starflight. Okay, well then I think let's join Starflight and let's dive into this first episode of Prodigy, All the World's a Stage, directed by Andrew L. Schmidt, written by Aaron J. Waltke, with some, I think you know what time it is. It is time for... It's time for some good old hot breaks. Clyde, what did you think about All the World's a Stage?
This was an entertaining ride on the crazy bus. I did not know what I was watching, but I thought it was cool. It's basically if a society was completely informed by watching Star Trek, old reruns of the TOS series, that's what you got. I also thought it was a much more fun when I turned on captions.
Oh,
when I turned on the captions, and so you could, it was like instead of Sulu, it was Sulu.
Right.
Right. So there you could see all the distinctions. I thought it was great. I thought, what a way to tongue in cheek the original series, but in a way that did feel disrespectful, but felt fun. Including the I guess there's no other way to say it, the mocking of William Shatner and his cadence. Just hilarious.
But Clyde, what could you possibly mean?
Yes. Booms.
Yeah, I agree with you. I thought this was a super fun episode. I watched it last week. I unfortunately didn't have time to rewatch it today before the stream, but I loved that there was like a red shirt in a frame. I thought that was so lovely. I thought it
Oh
was
man.
like incredible to see like how they interpreted, yeah, like what you said, someone like a society that their only form of entertainment were TOS reruns. It's like if you drop the scripts and maybe like they got a little worn, you know, and it's like that fun game of telephone to see how everything kind of happens later on in life. I thought it was a fun way to to show us episode of the week as well. Kind of like these adventures. Hopefully, our little crew is going to get into more and more frequently. And I thought it was a great showcase for, you know, like as a kid show, it's talking about like teamwork and like,
Mhm.
you know, like all of those themes you want to see in a kid show. So I thought it was really well done.
Yeah, I also like the fact that it was kind of a for those of us who kind of grew up watching Trek. There was a shuttle accident that happened to a red shirt. Here's what happened,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because from a TOS standpoint, like it's like, oh no, so and so is lost. Oh man, that's so tragic. He didn't make it back. Well,
I
this is
think I
what
have to
happened.
let a cat into the room I'm in, Clyde. So I'm going to let you, sorry, y'all. I'm like traveling. The world is chaos. I'll be right back, but I don't want this cat to not have its litter box. So 1 second.
Speaking of cats and litter boxes, I mean, that need is
Kitty cat need a litter box?
just the same need that we saw from the Starflight crew, right? They had this need to connect, this need to find to find Starfleet, just like Dial and crew. Mariah, you missed me trying very hard to link the cat coming in for its litter box and Star Trek in some bizarre way.
All right, I believe in you. Yeah, I also really liked that like the team wanted to keep they've sort of established along, you know, luckily with Hollow Janeway, like the mythology of Starfleet, right? Like they also see it as this mythical space that they now don't have access to. And when the Enterprisians come onto the deck of the Protostar and they adjust it so it looks
Oh
like the
man,
Enterprise for them, I thought that was so sweet.
it was great, and it reminded me. So I've mentioned before, I have a VR headset, and there's a Star Trek Bridge Crew is a game that I enjoy playing, and you have the option to play a number of different bridges. So you can play the Bridge of the Enterprise, you can play like TNG, you can play something that's kind of more Voyager, more Discovery. And so when they went to the TOS and I saw all the buttons, I was like, that is so amazing. That if that is what you're used to,
Mm-hmm.
then seeing a modern bridge, you don't know what to do with those. Like
Right.
it's so night and day. And so yeah, when they did that, it was kind of like, oh man, watch them find their groove. And they did. Not to jump ahead, but I'm amazed at how many people they just let on the
Mm-hmm.
bridge of the ship. Like, hey, I need
That's how
to
you know they're not actually Starfleet.
right. Like I'm thinking any minute now, somebody gonna steal the ship from y'all. You need to calm down just a little bit, youngins. Um, but no, I thought that was great. Um, my favorite part was probably when um, Pog and Doll are talking, and they're like, they're just a bunch of losers who are pretending to be Starfleet. And he's like, yeah, yeah,
Nothing like us.
nothing like us. It's just like it's that moment, that imposter syndrome that I think we all deal with from time to time. I felt like I connected with that on a truly emotional level, and I had to remind myself, this is pretty intense for a kids show. Like they're throwing some stuff out here that I thought was really cool. Um, but yeah, no, I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
it took me a minute to get into it, but it was hilarious. I don't
Yeah.
know that I'm ready to say it's my favorite episode of the series. I can't
Yeah.
go that far.
I thought it felt like whimsical. It felt like the most kid show in some way to me that we've had thus far. In that there's like a clear lesson here. I also thought it was fun to play with the mythology of like the beast in the woods, right? Like that feels very like campfire story time, like the thing they tell you as a kid to like stay out of the woods because usually whatever's actually in there is probably terrifying people. And then like, but they tell you it's a monster. So as a kid, you can kind of like deal with it mentally. You know what I mean?
Well, but it's also, there's a TNG episode where they're in the holodeck and it's like Beowulf.
Mhm.
And they have, Grendel is what they call it, right? And they have to go and find there's this beast in the woods. Like it's this thing that comes up, I think, in Star Trek over and over again. And so to see it here in this, in this environment, this kids show, I thought was like amazing. I was like, that tracks, that fits.
Mhm.
And then of course it's there's a very scientific explanation for what it is.
Yeah, and I like that each character got kind of like a shine moment this episode. Michael points out, and this is kind of inspired that Dahl gets sick, so Gwen has to lead the mission into the scary cave, and seeing Gwen take more command role was really fun. We also see, Rock really using her dedication to wanting to figure out what science she's most interested in as a way for her to take some leadership role. We have Zero working on the antidote for the disease, and then we have Pog who's willing to jump into the shuttle to fix the communicator. And I thought I thought each character really got a nice shine moment in this episode.
Well, it's interesting because I know I was looking back at the episode list and I'm like, yeah, we're still in the first season, but it feels like the second season to me.
Yeah.
But it's definitely shown that growth, and it's that what is true to Trek is that you have a group of truly talented, exceptional people who are all specialists at what they do, right? And that's kind of amazing. And so, to your point, everybody had this thing, and like together they can fix it, separate they can't. And so, I always say this, I love a good team up. This is probably one of the clearest team ups in the Star Trek kind of new franchise.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think they've done a good job of putting, this little ragtag group together. And I think the chemistry of the performers and of the way that the characters are interacting is going really well.
See, I kind of want to start the show over because Michael brings up a good point. When you said, hi, I'm Mariah Gossett, I should have said, hi, I'm Clyde Haynes. Live logs and prosper.
Yes.
Like that's, now I see what I was supposed to say. And I didn't say it. Like, thanks, Michael. Now I understand what
You got it. Yeah. Let's see what else is going on over here in the chat. We've got Choopy. Prodigy packs story into an episode like Snoopy packs a 3-story into his doghouse.
Nicely done. I like that one.
That's a good one. And then she says her real hot break is All the World is hands down my favorite of the series so far. I want to see fans cosplay and do the logs badly. They also would go like this instead of like this.
Which I appreciate because I can do that.
Oh, like for the listeners, we're doing Live Long and Prosper, but it's the two middle fingers together instead of.
Okay, and I still struggle, so we're just gonna put my hands down. No, I that's a really good point. I imagine at the Comic-Cons coming up, you're gonna see people in these, in this green cosplay.
Yeah, I hope we get some cool stuff. Let's see. Cute. About time we made a red shirt a hero, a loving homage to TOS that still works even if you haven't seen the shows like most of the kids in the audience. I know I do. I almost am like, Clyde, we got to get like a kid on as a co-host almost for Prodigy because I would be very interested. Like a kid. I don't know, like 13, 14. Think they'd still be into this?
Maybe.
I'm just curious. I need like a kid segment, like a little man on the street time.
All right. For maybe for one of these episodes, I'll ask my daughter what she thinks. It's hard because like we're 13, 14 episodes in.
Yeah.
I tried to get her to watch. She was like, I'm not watching this.
Mhm.
She just wasn't
I
interested.
was not into it. Yeah, and then so the other big thing for this episode and kind of going into the next one is that Murph is a little sick and turns into his little cocoon in this episode.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. So Murph is about to become a butterfly of some sort.
of some kind. Oh, this
Yes.
is a fun fact from Michael. Way to go, Michael, chiming in tonight. Ensign Grovek's voice from the shuttle is voiced by Fred Tatasciore from Lower Decks. A nice connection to the other animated
Also,
series.
the Spot character was also voiced by him.
Oh, dang. He's just all over the place. That's
Yeah,
fun. That would have been a
because I
fun.
was looking. The reason why I know is because I was watching the end credits because I was trying to figure out whether or not Sulu was voiced by Sulu,
Oh, it did
and it was
sound
not.
very.
It was
Oh,
very good,
it's a good
very good.
impression. Very good
Yes,
impression.
I was very impressed, and so that's why this was like, oh, is it? Is there a chance? And it was like, no. I was like, well, they just had him on an episode.
Yeah, I mean, it
Like,
also feels right. Like it would be weird if it was like if the real actor was playing the pseudo version. I don't know. I mean,
yeah,
it would be fun, but I also get why, like in the universe, they're probably like, no, you have to like. But then again, Fred Tatasciore is voicing a bunch of characters, so
a bunch of characters.
a
Like it was a bunch of
characters.
like literally it had his name and there was just like a line of characters up there, and I was like, I'm glad he's Lower Decks stopped shooting. He's still working. Happy for him.
Keeping it up, man. Keeping that. Shax is booked and busy. Well, yeah, I overall really enjoyed All the World's a Stage. I thought there was a bunch of really clever jokes with the names of things, like from Star Flights and the, like you were saying, Clyde. Like I always watch these for the first time, especially with the closed captions on, because I like seeing, so I can write down the names of like species and different planets and stuff like that as they come up. So I saw the joke right away, and it was very clever.
There was something that I saw on like the third rewatch was that at the very beginning, Dow opens up a locker, and in it is one of those like games where you put and you're looking into your eyes, like the Wesley Crusher game.
Oh, I didn't miss that.
Remember? Yeah, it was just I was like, oh, that's interesting. I just wonder why that's there on the bridge, but it was fascinating. So I just kind of noticed that. But yeah, all in all, I thought this was a good episode. I enjoyed it. Yeah, not willing to say it's my favorite episode, but liked it. Really did like it.
Are you willing to join Starflight?
No. I want a real ship, not
a paper one. I thought the play was a cute way to give backstory too. There's lots of good plot devices in this episode.
I was like, let's play the logs. I was like, oh, okay. They literally are going to play the logs.
So fun.
That was good. Yeah, no, it was good.
Okay, well, I think it might be time for us to move on to yet another round of Hot Breaks. Some more hot breaks, but this time we're talking about Crossroads, which was directed by Stephen Chen and Sung Shin, excuse me, written by Lisa Schultz Boyd. What's your hot break on old Crossroads here, Clyde?
So one reason why I've been so adamant about not saying that All the World's a Stage is my favorite episode, because Crossroads is my favorite episode so far this season.
This episode was such a Clyde episode. The minute I finished it, I went, Clyde's gonna like this one.
I did. Like I'm not so much in the hijinks of bumping into them and then just running away and going, oh, if you would just, yes, but great space chases, right? There's ships everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
You've got an away team mission. You're doing heroic stuff, right? Like there's, you got chases against the snow. I mean, this is basically a cartoon version of Star Trek Fast and the Furious. Like, it was fantastic. So I enjoyed it, but I also enjoyed the Gwen character is really putting in some killer performances week in, week out. And I'm loving what they're doing with that. That was the one that made the most sense to me,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like Jangum Pog bumping into the Tellarite and then having that interaction. I'm like, okay, so you're setting up that he was a jerk weeks before, so this would make sense. Got
Mm-hmm.
it. Payoff, but I got it. Um, Dow bumping into Janeway was a little like, just say the words.
Yeah.
Say the words that the Janeway hologram told us to find you. Say those words, right? Get it out there. Explain before this whole thing gets out. But the Gwen interaction, that felt authentic. You have my father. I don't know if I can trust you. I got to get away from you. If that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, there was a lot I liked about this episode. I thought the snow chase was fun. It felt very like new Star Wars franchise in some ways. Like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
But I enjoyed it nonetheless. And the space chase was great. I did. It seems like a little early for us to have these two crews cross paths. So I'm not sure like how
Is
the
it
arc
early?
is. I don't
This
know.
is episode 14. See, if this is season 2, it's
But they
very early.
But they have 22 episodes this season.
I can't figure out how I feel about this, right? Because again, my original thought was, whoa, they came in contact with each other way faster than I thought. I thought we had 2 or 3 more episodes. But then I was like, oh, but at least are we ripping the Band-Aid off and getting to this right now? So I haven't quite figured out how I feel. But yeah, if there's an earliness to it that I'm sorting through.
Yeah, I'm sorting through that. But I agree with you. I thought the Gwen interaction was great. I also I feel for Doll though. Like if you've ever run into like a celebrity and you realize like everything you've ever wanted to say to them leaves your brain and then you just say something stupid. Has that ever happened to you?
I'm thinking, no. I mean, usually living in now LA and before in New York, I've run into celebrities here and there. Usually I'm trying to be I'm not gonna bother you, but I'm kind of cool. So it's like, oh, hey, how you doing? What's it? Like there's nothing of substance. I typically don't get too like so it's just like, but there's nothing that comes out. It's just like, how you doing? Good. I'm gonna leave you alone now. But I understand what that's like. I've watched it happen to people. I've been standing next to someone at a Whole Foods and their favorite actor on the planet, like, you're putting your cart away and all of a sudden you turn around and you're like, ooh. And I was like, are you okay?
Yeah.
You. Do you know who you are?
Do you know who you are? I know who you are. Yeah. I mean, I feel for Doll in that situation. It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Chippy asked the question, how are they going to handle the Romulans in a Prodigy setting? It's a good question. I mean, I think in the same way that you get like Rita Repulsa in like Power Rangers, right? Like it's going to be evil, but a slightly different evil in a kid way.
Hey, is it wrong that I was excited that the Romulan looked like a black woman? Was it?
I mean, that's exciting. It's always exciting.
I was thinking back, like, have we seen, like, we see black Klingons all the time, but have we seen a black Romulan? And I just was like, that's kind of cool. Way to show representation.
Giraffe, because she's obsessed with Romulans, and I know she'll know the answer to this question. And then Michael asks, where the hell is the Protostar? We see them in a snowy spaceport with Sandy, Kaysa. Well, they're on like a trade hub. From what I understand about the shows, everything is in the Delta Quadrant, right? Because that's where, the whole point.
Chakotay went back to the Delta Quadrant. It's like, why would you go back there?
Because now I have this ship that can jump and I'll be home in a blink, right? So I think we're still in the Delta Quadrant, from what I understand.
She shot the proto drive. Man.
Well, no, she shot the nacelle, but it cut off the proto star. Yeah.
Yes.
The proto drive. So that'll be a fun thing for Jenkum Pog to fix. Try to figure out how to fix. I did really like this plan. It did feel like a practical idea of them being like, we're going to just bury the ship in the snow. We are going to go and we're going to try to make contact. Which one of the things that I sometimes get frustrated with in a lot of like, well, both kids shows and honestly adult media is when there is like a very clear solution that no one is trying because it's just like not the exciting thing to write. And
it's a bad plot device, yeah.
Right,
But it's a thing that you would do.
Right,
But it's a
exactly. It's
bad plot
like
device, yeah.
I hear someone breaking into my house. I'm not going to go out. I'm going to call, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
it's like, no,
there's
I've got to
someone in
go
the
figure
basement.
out
I
what
got
this
to go
is.
down there. Like,
Let me go look and see what's happening.
yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, I appreciate that it's like, oh yeah, this would be a very easy solution, but now it's more complicated. Them having Gwen's dad on the ship makes everything more complicated, and I appreciate that it's not I appreciate the way that they've built the plot around that and how it's making it more complex in a good way.
Yeah, and the guy who was running the starbase.
Yeah.
Right? The way they've developed his character from day one, it makes sense, right? Like he's a bit of a
he's like, I need things to be really hard. He's embellishing his stories to make him look good, right?
Right, because he's been out, like literally he was banished out there. And now he's like, I can't get sent anywhere else. And so he's embellishing. He's trying to like be the cool guy.
Yeah.
And he's telling the story. And so, of course, especially I would imagine if you're a kid and you're hearing them call you these things, right? And you're already have this, you're insecure about wanting this. Like Dal said, you want something so bad, right? But you feel like if you go for it, it's just going to be taken away from you. Like he's struggling with that. Like I get it. And so the way they've set this up is very believable. And even as much as I want him to just blurt it out,
yeah, I
get that he didn't.
The other thing that this particular episode did was like highlight how everyone is a little bit like the underdog, right? Like we see, I think especially that interaction between Jenkum and the doctor, with him being like, yeah, we look so different because you're the runt. And so you're just like, oh, like you've shattered this poor little creature's confidence. He's been walking around being like, I'm royalty. Because like we were one of the first members of Starfleet, and then this guy just like totally tears him down. So I think it'll be interesting to see how they rebuild him back up. Yeah.
Also, I think that what's interesting is that what we know in Star Trek is that when you have somebody who puts themselves above everybody else, that person takes a very hard fall. I think the doctor's going to take a pretty hard fall, and I'm for it because he is a jerk face.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think oh goodness, the thought just left my brain. Where was it going? Oh, Gwen. I've been really enjoying how, like you were saying, Clyde, like how complex Gwen's character is getting. And I think this particular episode helped to build that up because, we've seen her have to essentially reassess how she thought of her dad and her legacy with her dad multiple times over. And now it feels like she's feeling more confident in what she thinks about the situation. And so I'm excited to see her continue to build that.
I agree. Here's something that's interesting. So Michael L, again, our third co-host here, says Okana is voiced by the same actor from TNG, and his appearance is similar to how he looked in the Lower Decks episode, where I missed this. He was the DJ at the Starfleet captain's party.
Oh, that's right. Where all of those little dudes popped up. What were they called?
I can't remember, but yes. So it's interesting because I was like, why does this guy seem so familiar? And lo and behold, and of course they bring him onto the ship, and lo and behold, I'm like, okay, this is this is he's from Lower Decks, so it's a nice little kind of crossover. And TNG.
Mm-hmm.
Is this our crossover episode? This is what they're giving us. They gave us one character that
I guess so. Kuhn brings up that Trek Core says the planet was the same one as in Timeless, which does put it just outside of the Alpha Quadrant. So,
okay.
Which would make sense going towards the neutral zone. Let's see if there's any other comments on here. Let's scroll.
I mean, I'm definitely interested in fascinated, and I can't wait for next week's episode. Like
I know we left on quite the cliffhanger.
Yeah, and I think part of that is I'm enjoying Janeway, like more Janeway. I'm not sure what to make of the whole Vice Admiral Janeway. She seems very angry.
Well, I thought it was nice that they kind of checked her there at the end, being like, you can't cause a war because you are trying to find your friend. Right. Oh my gosh, Choopy. Thank you. I knew I was forgetting something. We get the big Murph reveal, which I think the reason I forgot it was I thought it was going to be more. I don't know.
I did
why.
too.
I was like, he has legs now.
I'm not, first of all, I really thought it was going to be caterpillar to butterfly kind of transformation. Like something that you would go, how did that species, it come from that species?
Yeah. It wasn't the Pokemon evolution I was looking for. It was more like it went from worm or like baby to toddler.
Yeah, and that is sorry. Choopy says he's a Teletubby. Mag pointed out.
Yeah, I mean, Keen says it's an excuse for Paramount to sell more toys, but my thing is like I thought Murph was cuter as the worm.
Agreed. And the last thing I want is
it reminds me of Flubber.
Yes. Well, I mean, the last thing I need though is a little baby or a little toddler sitting running around, shooting phasers. Like that's not good.
Mm-hmm.
And then sitting on a control deck.
Yeah.
Firing off like that's just that whole thing.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm hoping there's another evolutionary step to this Murph. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, what baby Murph? Like, what's just gonna be like throwing food? Getting into the nascent, like just
Michael brings up again our third co-host tonight. Thanks, Michael. Paul will be back next time. Don't worry. Murph sits on the console and fires a torpedo.
You get kicked out, Michael.
How many
next week you're out of here.
Did Riker lean on a console in TNG? It seems a little too plot convenient. I do think though Murph also has like more. Sometimes I think things seem like a mistake, but Murph is doing them on purpose because Murph can kind of like shift his like beingness wherever he wants to be. So yeah, I don't know.
I have to admit, I'm probably disappointed. I really was expecting Murph to come out as like a teenager, like come out and speaking words and like, this is what we all have to do.
Oh my god!
Basically, like he was going to be the Data character of the show. Like that's what I was expecting, and so it's like, oh, hilarious. I've got a baby Wesley Crusher. That's disappointing.
I think I was like, what if he oh my gosh, never mind, I lost it. It was there, now it's gone. He came out as it was still all the Murph noises, but instead of being the high trill because his voice has changed because he's getting older, it's all like really low, like they're grumbles instead of those high trill noises. I don't know. Yeah, it's really stupid. I probably should have just let the thought loose.
No, it's okay. It's like that's what it is. Yeah, I don't want to say they ruined it, but
I don't know. We'll let it ride.
We'll see. I'm waiting.
Is he still indestructible? Also a good question, GP. Do not know.
They have to have a plan. Everything they've done so far has had a very particular plan. I have to believe they've got one for this too.
Yeah. I agree. I feel like I'm in trustworthy hands. They haven't disappointed me hard at all yet. So, anything else about these two episodes, Clyde?
I think they've taken us on an interesting journey. We've got some some character development, we've got some plot development, we get episode of the week, but the overarching story tends to move forward. We don't have Chakotay necessarily, and I'm still not quite sure what to make of the diviner and whether or not it's just he's playing everybody or if he's actually struggling.
I think he's playing everybody.
That's my thought too.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think these two episodes were really two great episodes. I'm excited for the next few episodes. I'm really hoping that we get some conclusion. I'm hoping that they don't do cliffhangers. Cliffhangers for kids shows is a bad idea, right? You can't do that to children.
Yeah. You can't do that to us or to kids. That's what I'm saying.
Yes. And they do it to us all the time. It's the kids. Like, I'm hoping they don't do it to me by not doing it to the kids. That's what I'm hoping. But all in all, I enjoyed it. Yeah, I really did enjoy this episode. This was one of my favorite episodes so far.
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
All right.
Yeah, the warp space chase was beautifully animated. I will say I really enjoyed it.
It was. And also, they did something that I thought in the chase was great, right? Is that for decades now, we've seen these captains get into the seat, get into a chase, and go, "Are we ready?" And very nonchalantly start counting down, like, "On my mark, we're going to do this. Are you ready?" And in this situation, he was like, "All right, we're going to get ready." And it was too late. Like, if you had just said, "Go, go, go," you would have been fine. But you did all this preamble, and exactly what was going to happen happened.
Yeah. We shall see. I'm excited to see what happens in the neutral zone next week. But yeah, that is it for us this evening, y'all. We will be back not next week, but the week after. We hope you all have a good holiday week. Get to spend it with your fam. Also, just a reminder that it is Indigenous Heritage Month. So definitely check out. I'll post in the Slack. There's a cool website where you can find out what Indigenous land that you belong on, or that you live on, and you can look up some more information about kind of what's going on in your area. It's really cool. It's interesting. It's neat. It's a part of our history, and hopefully we can learn more about it so that we can not repeat ourselves.
I'm with you.
Yeah, if Star Trek has taught us anything. So, again, thank you so much for joining us on the pod this week. We will be back after the holiday. You can subscribe, rate, and review on Apple Podcasts. You can also find links to where to subscribe to the audio version, or to join us on the live stream if you're listening to the audio version at StarTrekPod.co. You can also find the link to our Patreon there. Clyde, we are still keeping up our Twitter. Karen doing a great job keeping up that Twitters. I'm exploring some other potential avenues if that destroys. We'll keep y'all updated since social media is a hellscape, but we like hanging out with y'all. So we will see y'all next time. Live long and prosper.
Live logs and prosper.
Bye.